us through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave. Crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe. Algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight. Building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand. Casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands. Revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan. All together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan. In this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight. Building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
They say that the Enneagram is just that of the face of God. And with the 9 personality traits of the Enneagram comes the 9 attributes to the divinity of the Lord. And I quote from Colossians chapter 1, 15 through 17 and 19 through 20. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. In him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or authorities, all things were created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. In him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile to himself all things. The word of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser, and the show starts pretty fucking soon. Welcome in. You thought
Hey
I was
guys,
going to
what's
do an
going on?
intro.
Oh, that was a 30-second countdown.
No, not here, man. I took it away. You want to do the 30-second countdown?
It's
You
the
want to?
final count.
Fuck.
There's your... Welcome in. I am Zachary Kaiser. We've just said a whole lot of F words already, and it's not even been 5 minutes. And praise be to
1 minute,
God.
20 seconds.
As Sean Collins would say, a buzz in reality, I cuss like a sailor, but I still hold my heart to the Lord. So welcome in, Andrew Joseph.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How do you do?
How is your morning? How is your Friday? How is your week?
It's been good. It's been good so far. Pretty good. How was yours?
So, I'm trying to find myself as the true man within the divinity of Christ.
That's good. That's a good point to made in the book here.
So let us jump in. Let us jump in. But before then, I'm going to tell Andrew to fuck off. He took himself away.
No,
What the
you
heck?
took
What
me
is-
away. You told me to fuck off.
Oh man. Anyways, welcome to the show. How are we to start this final chapter in our journey of the Enneagram through what its rightfully show is, not the secularized, ungodlike,
Andrew version.
satanic, and not the Andrew
Bastardized
version.
Andrew version.
Yeah,
Yeah,
psychology.
I think it's definitely a very light primer on the concept of what the Enneagram is.
I disagree.
The-
I honestly disagree. I think it actually embraces what is truly instilled to be.
mm,
I think you need to look at it more through the lens of a Christian perspective rather than a secularized atheistic psychological lens, because I think there's more to life than just benign black and white. Here, yeah, you got to go gray, man. There is not everything is not everything is just two ways. It's not a two-way street. There's there's a little crescent.
Divergence.
Yeah, a little crescent. It's called a crescent off of Hay Street. I'm doxing myself of where I grew up. Off of Hay Street, right off of Probasco, you go down. You think it's straight, but then you got your little crescents diverging from Hayes to Oakley before you get to the end of Hayes. If it was all black and white, it would just be one straight route. I'd be able to get from Probasco to Oakey Street just going straight down Hayes. But I don't have to. I can divert towards off of Dietrich Crescent. Either way, I can go this way. I can go. Look at this. I can go to the left, and that's going
You
towards.
liberal.
That's gonna lead me down towards Oakey. That's closer to Nowland, or I can go veers to the right, which is gonna lead me down towards Oakey, closer to Oakey Park. I always went to the right because I was going to the park, unless I wanted to go to Greendale Park. But typically, I just went to the corner of Probasco, turned, went all the way down Nowland.
Oakley dokley. No,
Welcome in, everybody.
I wouldn't say that I'm blind that the Enneagram is a satanic or an atheistic framework. I was just saying, it's like Ludwig von Mises says, they have the facts and it doesn't have to be, through the lens of a religious or non-religious. It's just the facts,
But what if I said, through all good things goes through Christ?
I mean, this is basically the source code of human programming, in effect.
Source code of human programming. Stop talking like a eugenicist.
I'm not. I'm just
That's
saying, like,
yeah.
these are
When you
cells of
start-
different, agents of
Yeah,
are
yeah,
biased.
but when you say it like that, you're basically saying we gotta strive to create humanity in our own vision, our own mindset. We got to get rid of all the. I can't say certain things, even though I'm using it as an example. We got to get rid of all the black people. That's that the United States government says we got to get rid of all the black people.
Boy, you're canceled off of Facebook. No,
But that's that would be creating
this video.
Yeah, well, that would be creating an image in your likeness, right?
Yeah, no.
That would be eugenics. That would be
I,
social
I,
engineering towards the perfection of
I'm
humanity.
talking about in the concept like Lacanian psychoanalysis. He says that
Mm,
psychology is like is like a language, right? Like a computer language, and
it can be.
if you can, you know, as I was starting to say, it's like a computer language, and this is like a lens to reverse engineer the language. So, say you wanted to open source the code, right? That you would use something like this. That's a way to filter it and break down and understand how people are.
Basically, what you're trying to say in layman's terms, what we're trying to say here is we're trying to break you away from the Freudian dialect and let you see the world through a larger
A
globe.
more,
You're,
I mean,
a
Lacanian
globe, not a
psychoanalysis
dome.
is from like the 1950s, 1960s, right? It's more
I
modern
know.
interpretation of Freud. So
Yeah.
now that you double check me on those dates because that's just a generic timestamp that I'm
No,
throwing in there. But
about the
it's
50s.
more modern. It's more modern, and like
Yeah,
this
about
is
the
even more
50s.
modern than Lacanian stuff. So
That's not really. This isn't completely modern. It's just
well,
he put it to book form
it's
recently.
more concise. The
Yeah.
Enneagram is more concise interpretation.
Mm. What do you explain that? You telling me that the Enneagram is how first off, how young
It's
is the Enneagram?
Well, it's the basic. It's an ancient idea, right? It's just been
Yeah,
concentrated in recent
on a
times.
modern sense. On a modern sense
Yeah,
used in psychology. How
yeah.
how old is it really?
I mean, they're talking about the nine forms. I think not Aristotle. It
Not the
was. I
19
mean,
I'm talking the modern forms. About the I'm talking like let's say like the 1920s,
I
1930s,
think they said in the book it was that it really kind of came into its own in the 30s. Yeah,
1920. Yeah, 1920s, 1930s. Um
but
but yeah.
like I said, it's been concentrated, and it's become more researched and
Mm.
matured since then.
Well, that's
And
what I said at the beginning of it. I mean, the Sufi Muslims in what is now Persia or Iran, whatever, in that general region, their mysticism explores the Enneagram practices of spirituality in a divine sense. They literally feel that this is the fulfillment of the face of God. This is God's transcendence of his energies into mankind, 9 different ways.
I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, every little piece. And then in fact,
Yeah.
the little basis of what we read for us, you yesterday and me yesterday. Yeah, we're procrastinators, everybody. But this last section that we've got to in the book to finish it out, um, it culminates it towards Jesus. And that is where I get the title right here, everybody, for this latest episode of Weekly Legacy, the divinity of the true man. Who is the true man?
Well, I mean, in the context of what is, the ultimate being, it's God and Jesus.
Thank you. I thought you were going to go on to this long spiel of like, well, the true man is this, and we strive for that. And the true man is exactly that. The true man is Jesus. He is literally he is the definition of what man should be and the faults of man, but without sin. He is without sin. Not to say that he doesn't lash out and have his moments, because he was a man. He is God in flesh, so he did become man, but he is without sin. He cannot be tempted to separate himself from God because he's God.
I was anticipating you thought I was going to say either Lysander Spooner or John Galt or one of the two. Maybe I'm mistaken myself.
Well, I mean, God, what about John Galt? John Galt is the
It's
personification of
Lysander
man as
Spooner.
well. I
Well, yeah.
mean, John Galt, the
It-
character, is the personification of the true man, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I guess you got a point
And you know,
there.
has Ryan Rand, that crazy old witch.
Crazy old welfarist. She died on welfare, dude. She's a hypocrite.
Yeah. Well, we're all hypocrites in
For
our own way, right?
not
That's
Jesus.
exactly what they talk about. Well,
The Pharisees, big time. The Pharisees were big time hypocrites. I mean, Christ called out the church. He had no intention to change the rule of law within the church or within the actual law, the law of God. I mean, that's literally comes from the initial covenant, 10 Commandments. But he had no intention to reform anything. And actually, I brought that up because I'm reading this. I
throw
got it up for it.
that book page open, man. Get back to
Mm,
the source.
where did I write it? I wrote what I wanted to say. Oh yeah, the Sufis actually pursue. This comes from the book, but the Sufis actually consider Jesus what they refer to as a redeemed two, right? So he was a two. I told you he is more of a two than a one, and you tried to say he was a one when we got into that little spat a couple episodes ago.
I did say his trifix was 126.
Mm, but he's not he's not a reformer, and that's the concept of it. He was not in it to reform, but he was in it to fulfill and to help bring people to the light of where God wants us. And so he strives to help those more so than to reform what is already there. He had no intention to reform. He would call out the Pharisees for their hypocrisy, though. And like, yeah, I mean, in one instance, he literally calls them out and saying, this is not an elitist function. Like, stop holding the temple hostage, essentially. Stop holding the faith from the poor, to only those that have the means and the money to be higher than thou.
Well, I mean that makes sense considering back then that time, you know, people didn't have the ability to reproduce books as well or read the Bible and stuff like that. They had to be taught it, right? So word of mouth.
Yeah, you get into a mixture of, and we're actually starting to, sadly, we're starting to see ourselves regress back to that same situation, that credentialism type of scenario, that guild age where you got to be, if you're not part of the guild, you don't know anything. You can't be an expert. You have no expertise. The experts. We're starting to see that in today. We are very much regressing, and this idea that credentialism over merit is better than anything, it's a fallacy, because I mean, you have your own expertise just like I have my own expertise in certain facets of what our interests are and what we progress in ourselves. You don't need to have somebody tell you, you can have this license, you can now practice what you preach.
I
And
registered
that's
my
a fact.
vehicle at the church.
Okay, sovereign citizen.
A right wing hippie is kind of thank you that
Mm,
would call me.
mm, mm. Well, I mean, if you're to be fair, I mean, the police register their vehicles with the Church of the State.
Well, yeah.
They are sovereign citizens, everybody. So whenever I hear the term
They
sovereign
grasp for the
citizen,
ring of power. I mean, they're
so
politicians just like anybody else.
I mean, they're not
It's just
politicians. They're just oath.
the
They're
state
just
actors are
oath takers.
politicians in my book.
They're not
Oath breakers,
politicians.
yeah.
They're just ordinary men taking orders. It's not
Okay.
really a politician. Politician is somebody who dabbles into politics as a career. Literally, that's what, yeah, politics. The prefix politics is in
Politics.
politician.
Two
Yeah,
ticks.
Two
I am not a
tits.
crook.
I am not the crook. I am not a crook. So tell me, where was it? But as we go in, where does what did you gander out of all this? I'm
I
gonna put you
think
on
that
the
he
spot.
was. I think when he was writing these latest sections of the book that we're reading, that he was afraid to make a confirmed commitment as to which Enneagram fixations he thought Jesus had. So that's why he went through on all 9 of them.
You you do realize this book isn't just written by Father Richard Rohr, and it even mentions in this last few
I
pages
know.
of who it was. So it was Andreas Ebert, Father Andreas Ebert.
Okay.
So it was actually Ebert that was speaking in these last sections that we were reading, not Rohr. So
Well,
Rohr would have probably actually tried to distinguish something. There probably would have been a more defined factor in where to kind of place Jesus, or just directly come out with it and say Jesus is all 9, which he actually did earlier on in the book. He did actually emphasize Jesus as being this being a 9, but a symbol, a 9 with the symbolic nature of all 9 personality traits of the Enneagram. But
they do
Ebert,
say
you're
that
exactly right.
Enneagram 9 is supposed to be the most concentrated of all. And they draw from every section most effectively.
Well, coming from this now, and then traversing back and forth between this and Scripture, and the and understanding what Jesus was all about. 9 is peace and calmness, love, a state
Yeah.
of love, full on cold-blooded love. You cannot defeat love because it is the true personification of peace. It is the peace that will never be lost.
I never knew the love was cold blooded, but okay.
I mean, cold-blooded.
I know.
That's my word.
I
That's
know.
my word.
He'll beat me up later.
But
Don't worry
anyways,
about
yeah, but anyway, so no, I want
it. No.
let's jump on let's jump on this. I mean, let's define it. I'm sorry that I cut you off. I just wanted to establish that the last sections of the book were actually Ebert, not Rohr. So, but go on. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I just, I mean, like I said, it felt like he wasn't able to make a firm commitment to any one particular fixation. Uh, but that's not to say that it's wrong or anything like that. It's just he tried to make it more realistic application. He's having a lot of fun of the Enneagram from the
Oh,
perspective
I
of
found it.
every fixation.
Go on. I know you got
Well, I
more
mean,
to say, man.
I'm here to pick a fight.
I'm here to smoke cigarettes, drink my coffee, and listen to you describe what your lessons are. I could preach all day. I don't want to. I want you to teach rather than me preach.
Well, I mean, what else can I say? Like I said, he made a case for every one of them. So
He did. He did. Out of his case for every one of them, though, which one stood out to you?
um, I say either 5 or 6 for sure.
A 5 or a 6, huh?
Yeah.
You really think that?
Well, I mean, 5, right? I mean, the God is the creator. It takes a pretty much unlimited knowledge to be able to pull something like that off. And 6 is the code, code of the Lord, code of the Bible.
I'm going to tell you what stuck out, but I'm going to start with Matthew 18, verse 4. Whoever humbles himself like this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. What does that What does that mean to you from an
That
Enneagram
means
perspective?
that means if you're gonna humble yourself, you're gonna be you know being salt of the earth, trying to be realistic and be at peace and keep the peace.
I'm sorry, what? You got to keep the peace?
I mean, that's Enneagram 9 is the peacekeeper, right?
He actually wrote this in a specific section of it. He
Yeah,
actually
I
dropped this
figured you stand
verse.
for.
Yeah. Why does 4 pique my interest on this all? I think I understand where you're coming from with 5 or 6. Realistically, if I had to
Being on,
actually bring about it, what
it's be
really stuck
authentic.
out, it would be 9. But yeah, the authenticity, the notion of being sensitive with yourself and those around you, the uniqueness of the self, uniqueness. So, and what does that mean to humble yourself like this child? This comes from when the little boy, I think the little boy came to Jesus in Matthew, and he says, "Whoever humbles himself like this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." What exactly does that mean to humble yourself like a child?
To be kind and generous with your time, and be sensitive to the emotions of other people.
The key word here I was looking for was innocence, to not lose your innocence, to fight the urge of sin, which we cannot do. We're human beings. We're gonna lose that battle anyways. But to fight that urge, to find your innocence again.
Experience
We're all
feelings.
hmm So, and he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. What does that mean?
Well, when I say he's the greatest, I'm sure you're talking about Jesus. So, like, I don't want to say he's top dog, but he's top dog. He's
This is Jesus speaking.
okay.
So this is Jesus speaking in Matthew. So what does Jesus mean? He's actually
Well,
talking to the little boy and then to everybody else.
be pure and innocent for as long as you can.
He is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, to be pure and innocent for as long as you can. How can you be pure and innocent for as long as you can on earth? We're talking about
That's
heaven here.
impossible, but I know, but that is the goal, right?
You will reach the peak of Christ consciousness. You will, some would say, you you are striving to
To be
reach
healthy
that
emotionally,
Zen. I was going to say to reach that
psychologically.
Zen, to reach a state of nirvana, which I consider, from Thank You Buddhist, um, consider that to be a state of a calming inner peace within yourself,
Tranquility.
tranquility, paradise, to be one with the Lord, a consciousness in a state of calmness and love. Love. What do children like? What are children the most astounded by in their impressions as they're getting older, or as they're still young but they're feeling out the world? What do children admire the most in life around them, within their surroundings,
Courtesy and
even when there's
understanding.
bad? That's a good one. Courtesy and understanding. And where does courtesy come from?
Patience.
Well, yeah, I like that. He talked about patience as well, and that's the one in Jesus. Um, you need patience. You need to understand. You need to be patient and tolerable. Um, Otherwise, if you strive to be more, if you just can't if you can't tolerate the negative, then you're just going to be angry all the time and let that negativity just fester and eat you away. So you do need to have patience, and which Jesus himself had a lot of patience, especially with his disciples, a lot. So,
Yeah.
and he would show his impatience as well, but he would snap. But for the most part, he understood. Hey, these motherfuckers are retards. They're scaredy cats. They're cowards. I mean, I can only guide them so long before eventually they need to build up their courage. Of course, it took the Holy Spirit to intervene, Pentecost, that finally gave them the drive to continue the work of Christ. But yeah, I like that courtesy and understanding, and yeah. So love, love. That's where it all ends up culminating into. The child wants love. The child wants to give love and to receive love. And so does Christ. So does God. So does us all as we grow. We need to find that inner child within us. Lord, give me a heart like a child.
Trying to protect our inner child, right?
There's actually and I'll take it away. And I'll let you take it away, Andrew, for a second. But the reason I say give me the heart like a child, and we might just fucking pray it actually, because I think we all need healing. But there is the healing prayer, which I myself, with my therapist, when I go to my therapy session, we pray it every session. Kind of gets old.
Yeah. What would you like to share with us?
Why don't you speak and I'll look for it? I will share
Okay.
it though.
Well, I'm not sure exactly where I could go from here. I guess I could review the 9 different types again. Type 9 is the peacemaker. Type 1 is the reformer. Type 2 is the helper. Type 3 is the achiever. Type 4 is the romantic or the individualist. Type 5 is the investigator. Type 6 is the loyalist. Type 7 is the enthusiast or the Epicurean. Type 8 is the challenger. They're all functions in our psychology and the way we behave and our motivations as a reaction to the way we were brought up or the experiences we had from a very young age. Um, we'll have a 2 dominant instinct and 1 uh, denied instinct, a blocked instinct that you really don't practice every day. When you're under a significant psychological stress, you will fall back into that instinct, the social instinct, the sexual or the one-to-one instinct, and the self-preservation instinct. And 2 of them, one of them would be dominant, and the other one would be support the dominant instinct. So, say your self-preservation instinct is the 5, 6, and 7 is the brain. Your sexual instinct is, or the one-to-one instinct is 8, 9, and 1, and the social instinct is 2, 3, and 4. So, should I keep going? Would you like me to keep going?
I can't find it right now. I really I don't have the patience to look through and find it, but it is a very good prayer.
Mm.
But I will say this, I did find this. Psalm 34, verse 19 through 20. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. He keeps us all his bones not one of them is broken. How do you take of that?
I mean,
I'm in the browser, so I can't see you, man, with my one
yeah,
monitor. So, but
I
you
know. You have
sound
to forgive me.
you,
I'm sorry.
you sound very
I'm just trying.
intolerant and impatient.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be. I'm sorry.
What's going on in your mind right now?
Well, right now I'm trying to put it into words. I mean,
What do you mean? What's
I'm just trying to.
making you
I'm
struggle?
man,
Welcome to therapy, everybody.
right? Yeah.
What makes it hard for you to place your own words into this? Why are you struggling on trying to figure out just from that song? I mean, did that
I
song
just
like awaken
it's
something
not
inside of
that.
you? Or-
It's just I can't. Sometimes it's hard for me to concentrate. You have to forgive me. Like I heard what you said. It gets to me sometimes. I'm sorry.
You want me to read it again?
It would probably help. Yeah.
Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. He keeps all his bones, not one of them is broken. He
You know
keeps all his
the
bones.
sacrifice that he took on the cross. You know, is a reminder of
Mm.
the sins that he suffered and took on for us because of how flawed we are.
You do realize this is a psalm, right? Which is written like 1,000 years or so, like 2,000, 2,500 years before Christ was even in existence as man on earth. I see what you're saying, though. He took on the burden of sin. So God in
Adam,
himself, yeah, God himself will take on the burden of sin so much. The stresses of the world will wither you down, but it's all for a better and brighter future, a journey
well, I
towards
mean,
salvation, a fulfillment of salvation. We go on about Adam.
Jesus, the second coming of Adam, right? That's what I've
The line of
so
David, and they say that the line of David David is in between Adam, Jesus. So yeah, it all goes back to Adam, the first
it's
man.
connected. Yes,
Hmm. So yeah, Jesus is the
in a
second
way,
coming,
I'm
and that's
right. In a way, I'm wrong. You know, sorry, you have to forgive me. I'm kind of retarded.
why are you wrong?
Well, I'm just saying it's because at first glance you think that's what it was I'm referring to, but it's it's interconnected.
I don't like the negative speak, man. Why are you being so negative on yourself?
I don't know what to tell you.
Want me to take you off of the squirm? That might actually help a little bit. That better?
I'm back
Why is it though?
in the saddle, baby.
Why is that though? Why why why
Why's what?
why why are you consumed in this negative speak, this wrong think right now about yourself?
Well, it was just kind of a joke.
I don't think. I mean, the thing about humor, honestly, is we use it to mask what our real true feelings are. So like just because you said I'm retarded. I'm sorry, I'm kind of retarded. I'm like, no. I mean, you got a lot of things to say, man. So don't try to hide the fact that you think that you made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. There is no right or wrong on this answer. I just correct you on the aspect that the Psalms came earlier. But I understand where you're coming from. I mean, with the cross and Jesus and the Lord being that sacrificial lamb in the future, because the Old Testament is the the prophecy of the New Testament. There's a reason why it's called the New Testament in Christianity compared to the Old Testament. The Old Testament is the testament of the Old Covenant. Jesus and his sacrifice was the recommission of a new covenant, a covenant where the law was through Christ. It not necessarily the law in full direct form, but now through God directly. Accept Christ and help stir the good news. The good news being that you will have salvation in the next life, so long as you love. I'm just trying to keep this short and sweet. I don't want to go into an over explanation. It all comes down to love.
Yeah. As you try and succeed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try to help improve
And
people's lives.
so
That's
no, go ahead.
I'd say that's just the commitment that you can try to do to motivate people to be more loving, more caring.
So as we dive into the Enneagram and try to expose what it all means in the attribution and contribution of Jesus, how do we get there? How did we get to that road?
Well, they make a good point in the book that the Enneagram is really a mechanism for us to understand each other's suffering
Mm-hmm.
and to get build empathy for one another and the struggles that we all go through.
So it's effectively a telling of the suffering of life. We all go through our trials and our tribulations.
Yeah.
And through those tribulations, we have to figure a way of what we need to do to strive out and get past the obstacles to find peace, inner peace within ourselves, which effectively will help us with everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound about right.
Mm-hmm. So why take on Jesus as the effective example? Isn't there other individuals in history that we can loosely base on, or should we even base off a man, or is it just the simple fact that Jesus is the personified Son of Man, the Son of God? He truly is God in the flesh. Is that the reason? Or why? Why hang our head down upon this one figure in history as the example?
Well, I mean, he was a significant historical figure, right? I mean, in Abrahamic religion, Christianity, and no, the Muslims, they look to Jesus, right? And
They do.
even the Israel, the Jews, they acknowledge that he existed to a degree.
They do not.
Th-
They do not.
There's
They really
never
don't.
been. I'm not talking about like as a you know as a messianic figure, just as a human being.
No, no. The
I've heard
Jews.
that's what I've heard. I'm sorry. Can you
The
please
Jews,
correct me?
the true Jews, the true Jewish faith ignore the fact that Jesus may or may not have existed. They don't care.
Mm.
And then, yeah, and that this fictional character is a blasphemer, is a blasphemous character. So yeah,
Okay. Well, then thanks for correcting me.
and the Muslims, they they do. Jesus is actually more quoted in the Quran than Muhammad himself, but he is revered in certain teachings. But it's evident. I mean, and there's other reasons why Islam has become what it is today. I mean, political reasons. But so I'm not going to put. I'm not going to constrain them down to their own faults of why they are today. But the simple fact is they don't listen to the words of Christ. They don't listen because he isn't, even though he's the most quoted, he's not the most revered. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
Muhammad
understand
is.
that.
So, which is a shame because I think they should listen to more closely to the words of Christ, to Jesus, than their affirmed mm, admirable love of Muhammad. I mean, would you listen to Muhammad, the rapist and killer, or would
I
you listen
mean,
to the man who speaks of love and enlightenment and
it's all
kindness
about
and
the
peace?
it's all about the audience, I suppose. You have these radical Muslims nowadays who they would prefer to listen to, the killer than anything else.
What's also interesting about Islam and their reference to Christ many times, they do believe that Christ was born out of a virgin or holy birth,
Yeah.
but he's not God. He's not the son of God.
Yeah.
Weird. So,
It is a
and I'm
little
not by all
unusual.
yeah, by all means, I'm not using this to well, I kind of am for the Jews, but I'm not using this to negatively affect Islam or Judaism by any means. Christianity has its own faults, and in fact, he lays it out in this book when we get to, was it 5 or 6? I believe it's the 6th Enneagram, um, for where the leadership qualities, or no, it's 3. No, it is 6. Or 8, 8. It's 3, 6, and 8, really, when you all put it down. But uh Jesus was he was truly a leader. He was building a foundation, and he spoke and taught the exact opposite of what the Christian church eventually led into, which was to have this power structure in institutionalization. Jesus spoke against that.
Yeah.
Why is it that Christianity goes the exact opposite? Is that just the corruption of man, or
I,
what's your psyche on it?
I believe it's the corruption of man. Yeah. Um, I mean, we're impulsive, right? And we have all these flaws, and you can't implement a framework and have it last, for ever and ever and ever, and not have at least one incident of corruption.
Mhm.
And the
Well, if we
longer
would, yeah.
that you build, the more misinterpretation of the original image or message or whatever structure or understanding, and then everyone gets upset and they go, let's reform it, and then they reform it, and then it gets even more corrupt. It's like voting in the United States, right? It didn't work. They think, oh, we'll just, we'll vote our way into the popular into the Congress and stuff like that instead of being appointed. Yeah.
We are. We're so impulsive, but at the same time, we're adaptable. So eventually, we're ever changing. So we do see
Flexible.
through our ill ways. So I mean, as we fall into a bad trend, we adapt to that trend, and then we understand there needs to be a change. So we adapt yet again to another habitat within another realm to try to fix things, to try to create something that I don't know what I'm trying to say here. We try to fix our mistakes.
It just
Inevitably, we make it worse, but
it's
we are
like
human.
there's some a video or two on the Property and Freedom Society YouTube channel about the Austrian school and how they're going back and looking through at all the errors and stuff like that in the early church and different things like that, and economics and just giving a reflection about how we could have done things better. It's about concentration and understanding that maybe people were wrong and they just didn't realize that they were wrong until it was too late.
Why are you applying economics to the church?
I'm not. I'm saying this is the way people think. They don't realize until way in the future that the mistakes that were made contributed to other things. And that's what they were talking about in the video on the channel, is that
Humans act as humans act.
They're
It's
cleaning up the
praxeology.
record. They're cleaning up the record.
Humans will act the way that humans act.
Yeah.
I mean, they will act in the way that they foresee is in the better interest to themselves and to humanity. And so sometimes you end up in the red, and other times you end up in the green. So you have good and you have bad actors. I mean, there's not good versus evil. It's just you have people that act in bad faith, and we try to rectify that, and we end up doing it as such, and then we kind of take a step. It's like the old saying: one step forward, two steps back. For every good that we do, we always fall back and fumble, because we kind of have to. And that goes to what you said earlier, like struggle. It's
Right.
suffering. It's
Yeah.
just it's the whole part. It's a part of the human condition.
Empathy. Respect.
My empathy. Are you
Well,
walking on my shoes right now?
no, but
Get out
we
of my
can kind
shoes.
of. Okay.
Get out of my shoes. No, go ahead. Get in here.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying.
I am gonna
Each
give
each
you the floor,
area,
man.
each section has its virtues and its vices. I mean, I could probably pull up the chart going through the different sections real quick. Hold on just a second, let me find it. Sorry. My browser seems to be frozen. Oh man, where's it at? Loose time. Here we go. So the virtues of each type: Enneagram 9 is engagement. Enneagram
Why
1
don't
is
you share it?
serenity. I'm the web browser's frozen, so I'm just gonna read it off real quick.
Man,
Enneagram
stop
2
looking up
is
porn,
humility.
dude.
Yeah, I know. Enneagram 3 is integrity. Enneagram 4 is equanimity. Enneagram 5 is generosity. Enneagram 6 is courage. Enneagram 7 is sobriety. Enneagram 8 is innocence. And like I said, those are the virtues. me see if I can pull.
And to go out of the book does the same thing with how to read off the 9, applying towards the conditions of Jesus and striving for that enlightenment state of Christ consciousness, of becoming one with the Lord, right? I mean, one is teaching, tolerance, patience. Now, what was one for you, Andrew?
You talk about the. Just a second. I gotta pull up here. Serenity.
There you go. There you go. We got
All right.
the browser. The browser came back. But one, serenity, right? So inner peace, teaching, tolerance, patience. These are 3 attributes that you need in order to find the peace within yourself. Correct?
Yeah.
2, humility, for which Jesus had a lot of. Care, compassion, solidarity, to be solid in oneself, right? To be strong-willed within everything that you conduct yourself, but to hold that compassion for each and everybody around you, as well as for yourself. 3, integrity, always finding the right, always trying to find the right way in your decision making. Correct. So, but 3, that takes ambition, that takes energy, that takes visionary.
Concentration.
So yes, so concentration. 4, equanimity. I don't speak Italian. Say that word for me.
Equanimity. Equanimity. Sorry.
Yeah, what he said. Or creativity, sensitivity, naturalness, so uniqueness, being authentic within yourself amongst others. 5, generosity. Having the ability to distance yourself when it's time to kind of take a break. You're being generous to yourself when you feel the effects of the world just coming down. You just need a break. Sobriety, though, being one to just have an understanding about others, and as well as yourself, to be able to calm down and become more attached. Whereas when you're not sober, you're detached. Wisdom, to be wise in your decision making, to have that expertise in everything that you do and everything that you learn. 6, courage, fidelity, obedience, trust. You have that, but it doesn't mean be obedient as in like in a force standard, right? So you will
voluntarily obedient.
You will conduct yourself to the rules of your engagement for when it calls for it, but you're not going to actively just stand tall and fight. So you need to have a trust there, though. There needs to be a trustworthiness. You need to understand when is it time to disobey in some facet politely, and and when is it to fall in line. You don't necessarily fall into the cult, but you fall in line with just the reality. You seek peace. 7, sobriety is what they say here, but I'm going to change that. 7 is celebration. It's optimism, which here festiveness, joie de vivre, but also pain. I don't know what joie de vivre means, but I would assume it's just celebration or excitement. So you're optimistic for everything that is the future. You want to fulfill that positive brightness that you hold in yourself. So, and sometimes to a fault. Sometimes to a fault. 8, innocence. I don't agree with that, but 8 innocence, but in order to find that innocence, you have to confront that innocence. You have to confront those negative urges. Um, Clarity, authority. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
I mean, making sure that you're playing by fair rules in whatever situation that you're currently under.
Playing by
Realistic.
their rules would be
Uh,
6, in my opinion. We're on 8 at this
uh,
point.
yeah. So, like, if you want to have an innocent game, you know, where this not, if the game isn't tilted, then you want to make sure the rules, everyone understands the rules and are all on the same page.
Until it's time to break them.
Secure control.
So, but 9 says engagement here. I mean, you're gauging with people. You need people. You need to be able to branch yourself off, which coincides with this composure, peacefulness. As we said, 9, the greatest virtue is love, faith, hope, and love. 9 is love.
It's the most balanced of all the Enneagram fixations.
It's not even the most balanced. It's just literally, it's just love. It's not even balanced. It's just all. It's the key ingredient. I don't like the word balance because you're basically trying to balance between what you perceive as bad and good, and I can do a little bit of bad, but I'm gonna do a little bit of good. That's what I see. I mean, but I don't see love as part of that yin yang cycle. I think love is the transcendence to where we want to get. It is the nirvana, what the Buddhists call
Neutrality.
nirvana. Neutrality.
Well, I guess that would probably be 5
Yeah, 5 would
because
be
they
more.
talk
Yeah,
about that in the book.
I don't think. Well, in order to achieve love, I don't think you're going to be neutral because you've already chosen a side. If you get what I'm saying.
I mean, another way to look at it is moderate.
Mm. Well, in this
Potentially.
day and age, we don't really like moderates in these day and ages, especially with all the politics that have eroded our society and destroyed it. I mean, some would say a moderate or what people call a conservative is really just in retrospect, a progressive driving the speed limit.
That's
A
what Michael
filthy
Malice
commie.
says.
Somebody who's a filthy commie who doesn't want to actually prove that they're a commie because they know what's going to happen to that filthy little commie.
Yeah.
They want to conserve communism. Actually, a reference to the book. What did the Marxists want?
To have their little hearts blessed.
They want a road to perfection.
A
They
scientific
seek
revolution, huh?
utopia. Yeah, they seek utopia in this classless society of perfect communion with all.
If you don't mind,
What's
I gotta go on my job to smell the eggs.
Yeah, you smell the eggs, smell the eggs, smell the farts. You know
Farcoin?
how sulfur smells like rotten eggs, dude.
Yeah. I'm not investing in
Kind of like
Bitcoin.
that idea. I do like that idea of. I get where they're coming from, the Marxists, because that is ineffective.
It's good on
Effectively,
paper.
it is good on paper because effectively that's what the Christian-esque, the Christian principles. That's our idea. The only difference is you're never going to have utopia on earth. The Marxists get it wrong. The Marxists think it's here. That's why the Soviet Union, that's why the Bolsheviks murdered Christians. And why the state has to be the religion and why
Then
atheism reigns supreme in a communist society. But the fact of the matter is they're exactly correct. Utopia is the goal, but utopia is not of this earth. Utopia, paradise, perfection is in heaven, in the heavens above.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't know what they were thinking. I mean, I guess government hates competition, so they're not going to be too keen about people having options.
What do you mean government? Initially, there was no
The
government
state,
in their little
yeah.
revolution.
Well,
Well, state, government, whatever.
we'll talk about the Soviet Union, but in general terms, long-term history, nothing but blood and violence for control. That's all governments ever are.
Howdy, Mark.
How you doing, man?
So how do we get people to acknowledge that the utopia? How do we get let's stay on the communist level now that I brought it up. How do we actually, Ebert brought it up. Just a short little sentence. How do we get the Marxists to understand that what they wish to achieve can be achieved through Christ, not of this earth?
I'm sorry, it froze up for me. Can you say that again?
I don't believe you. I think you're messing with me. How do we get the Marxists to understand that what they perceive they want to achieve here on this earth, that they can achieve it through Christ in eternal life?
Well, I mean, Marxists are they're dedicated by the desire to be right on everything and control the economy. It's like the picture I posted on X a little while ago. There's the three competencies of the Enneagram, right? 1, 5, and 3. 1 is reform. 3 is the achiever, right? The narcissist. They think they know everything about everything. They repress their emotions. And 5 is the investigator, right? So they're driven by their bias, which this is the study of. So if you want to break them of that bias, then you're going to have to either introduce an alternative or present a real life consequences to what the line of thinking that they've established and how it is actually flawed.
There is an alternative, and they all want this classless society this stateless classless society where everybody is equal on equal footing, right? So they don't want a king, right? Well, I mean, tough titty, there is a king, but there's no king but Christ, and that king is not a king of this earth or of this dimension, and that king doesn't want to. That king rules benevolently. Benevolently. That king wants you to be on an equal standard with him. Notice that God is always the highest because God created you in his image, his likeness. And we are servants to the Lord, but the Lord is servants to us. I came here not to. I'm going to butcher this from scripture, but I came here not to not just be served, but to also serve. I believe that comes from Matthew. Again, I'm going to be a lot of Matthew references in this segment of this podcast. I mean, he is a king that serves, and thus we serve the king. We all serve each other. And he is a king that is not of this earth, because no kingdom on this earth reigns supreme. This is why I'm gonna use Sean on this one. I mean, Jesus is the OG anarchist on this earth. Anarchy is supreme on this earth because you have no ruler but Christ, and Christ doesn't rule
Every
you. You rule
every time
yourself.
there's an attempted effective rule, it always fails.
Mark says where everyone is equally nobody, referring to communism. But
Yeah.
referring to heaven, to the divine, to eternal life, everyone is equal to everyone because we all serve each other, including God. God serves us. So
I
he
believe
agrees.
it.
We're going to convert him. We're going to convert him to Christianity.
Are you talking about me or Sean? Mark?
Mark, was that a Freudian slip?
That was not intentional.
Uh,
Just a slip.
Mark, you are now Sean. Yeah, you can't, brother. I saw stuff. Well, you may have saw stuff, but perhaps it was him that brought you that stuff. I don't know. I'm not from a perspective, so but I will support your personal faith. That's fair. That's how we all should be. The idea of conversion, I mean, it's great to teach people and try to spread the word and give them you're giving people an outlet, but you
Yeah.
got to allow people to actually. Mark brings this up. We're misinterpreting it. You have to give people the outlet of interpreting their own niche. You can't just force upon your beliefs on others. One
Context
reason
is
why,
important.
and I think that's and I really I condemn the internet for this because it's gotten worse because of the internet. Because people think that they're completely anonymous, I guess, and they get strong. They get stronger knowing that they don't have to be face to face. But the atheist movement, the New Age atheist movement of like the last like 30 years, 20 years, um, they contend. They're so adamant on going against the thread of everything that they don't see human beings for human beings, and that's dangerous.
The Zoomers apparently converting and becoming more religious more and more every day, from what I've seen online.
How so? I don't agree. I don't disagree, but how so?
Well, I'm just it's they're more exposed to it and willingly being exposed to it.
Hmm. A new atheist per Hitchens, but much more nuance now. That's where we need more nuance, and that's where I think the new atheist movement or the new age movement or whatever you want to call it, like there's a lack of this nuance, this idea of interpreting different perspectives. You're not going to convert people to believe in nothing. And I'm going to be adamant when I say I would prefer to hold my faith into something, into God, and and God help me when I say this. But if I am wrong, who is to know? How am I to know that I'm wrong? If there is absolutely nothing, atheist, then let me keep my faith because I'm not going to know. You're not going to know because we're all going to be dead. When you die, if you die and you're just rotting in the ground, how is anybody to know that there's nothing? But I think there is something, whether it's a Christian sense or some sort of conscious sense. We are energy. There's energy in this universe, and I think there is something that interconnects to why we are conscious our conscientiousness. So,
Again,
but I
they
don't
talk
know.
about that in the book. They said that the 9 energies of God, right?
Hmm. So, it could be that through that energy, perhaps maybe we are creating. And actually, me and Greg kind of touched base on this after the show yesterday, when everybody left. But perhaps human beings are striving to create that functional God. It does feel like there is something. There is definitely something, and perhaps the development in creating our own version of God is in effect what God is. I think we're going at it wrong. I think we're doing it more in a more subjective, narcissistic reason. But I think that there is something. We're in a simulation, not base reality. I mean, you can't. You're not going to change my mind on this, Mark, because I mean, I'm a Christian. So yeah, we are technically in a simulation.
I mean,
The Earth.
I can see the I can
I
see it. I mean,
mean,
they're running a model, right? We're
yeah,
all agents in the model,
yeah,
actors.
we're all the simulation is the Earth creation. The base reality is heaven.
And speaking of the Enneagram and just different like atheists and stuff like that, a lot of Enneagram 8s have a hard time coming to God. They spend their whole life in frustration, because of the things that they experienced, and it's not until later on in life that they capitulate and give up their life to God.
Later on in life, does that describe you?
No, I
Are you
believe in
still?
God. I've always believed in God.
But is there a struggle there though? Do you have moments in your life where you still to this day where you don't necessarily know, you're lacking in certain understanding because you just things happen in life that make you question? That's what I'm asking.
No, I just think it's real. And maybe this is being a 5, but I was just felt like you look around, something had to create the environment that we're in, and it's just it would make sense. You need to have a foundation somewhere, somebody to create the environment, and that's I don't know. I have questions, but they're not like aggressive questions. Let's put it that way.
Your your questions align with that of a deist. There is a great architect, but
Take
you
a
don't
break.
know. You don't necessarily know that the architect created and is still with us. I mean, a deist, the great architect, the creator, created life, created everything, created the universe, created the earth, created man, all the species, etc., and then walked away to your own and allowed you to go about your own facets of life, make your own choices, decisions, whatever. But uh, but I think for both of us, I think we have an understanding that that doesn't really entirely make sense, especially for me. Like I've actually felt an intervention of God multiple times in my life. I've ignored all of it until recently. So I have felt that intervention of the Lord.
I
So
don't think
or
you walked.
something.
So I don't think you walked away. I don't think it's an accurate description from my perspective. It's more like he took a break and he's giving us clues to find him.
I don't think he took a break. I think the only time that God took the break, if you contend to, if you don't contend, I know this is all in contentious nature, but if you actually believe the Genesis story of creation, and the 7 day structure, 7 day, a day wouldn't be the day that we conclude as a day, by the way. But on the seventh
I
day,
understand
God
that.
rested. Why would God rest? Well, what does it actually mean for God to rest after creation?
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of energy to create the heavens and the earth, right? Everyone
Hmm.
needs to relax and cool down for a minute.
So what you're trying to say is perhaps that is more of a parable in nature of trying to explain God creating the universe, the heavens, the earth, mankind, the species, the plant life, everything, and everything above and beyond and in between, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah, but it's a parable taking that as an example to explain away humanity and why in our 7-day structure the idea is we don't really live it now because we're kind of on the verge of communist serfdom. But the
I
idea
think
of
he's
that
talking about the
7 day,
singularity.
yeah, singularity. What communist serfdom? Singularity.
What's the
They say
difference?
singular. What's the
Yeah.
difference? Exactly. But the seventh day is considered on that seventh day you would rest. That's the reason why the Jews in Judaism, it's actually the end of the week. Like literally, their Sabbath begins on Friday evening and lasts till Saturday evening or in the Sunday morning. They start their week on Sunday. We as Christians, we start our week. The week starts. We start our work week on uh, Monday, but but the week starts on Sunday, and we still acknowledge that. But Sunday, we rest on our Sabbath is at the beginning of the week. We rest and then we go hard. Whereas Jews, they go hard and then they rest. And I think that could be a parable in explaining, hey, oh, God rests. Well, humans need to rest. We're man. We need to kind of just chill for a little bit. But you, to your point though, um, yeah, it does. It takes a lot of energy amassed from. Even though he's this great energy, he's using a lot of his own energy force to create, and so it would make sense that God would need to actually legitimately rest.
I mean, think about it. For every question we solve, there's two more questions pop up, right? I mean,
Hmm.
who's to say that isn't a function of I don't want to say simulation, but a reality.
Hmm. Always question, no matter what you believe, because every question you answer, you're exactly right, Andrew. For every one question you answer, you get answered. There's two more that pop up, and you're wondering, God fucking damn it. Stop fucking with me. Stop fucking with me, God.
Keep
I'll be
doing it. He needs
I'll
the
be whipped.
trouble.
God. That's probably true. That is probably true, Lord. Keep fucking with me. So, which actually, to your point on that, yeah, because you need to be humbled every day of your
Night and
life.
day.
You need, so, uh, so for quote unquote, my words again, keep fucking with me. Uh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing because it brings you down to earth. So, and sometimes when we're not brought to another level, we think that we're so high and mighty that we get too much ahead of ourselves, and that's where we become politicians
And bureaucrats
and
and
cops.
engineers who trying to create black holes.
They can do that though.
Yeah, but scientists
Like,
can't.
yeah, yeah, like no, like. Well, there's engineering and in base engineering is a science.
Just kidding.
You know, but yeah, didn't CERN create a black hole? Not
They
too
tried
recently.
to. Yeah,
I think they
they're working towards it.
I,
It's a miniature
I
black
thought,
hole, right?
yeah, it's a miniature.
It was
I
like
could
it's
have
like
sworn I read that.
a fraction of a
Yeah,
second or something like that.
but they did it. It doesn't matter if it was a fraction of a second. I mean, they did it. They've created a black hole. Now the thing
Singularity.
is can they create a black hole and contain it? That's the difference. That's
Keep it
actually kind of
consistent. Yeah.
that's the scary aspect. So the scary aspect is can they actually keep it consistent? If they can do that, I think we just annihilated ourselves. Which that might be the goal.
Void posting. Here we go.
Howdy, William.
Hi, William.
We're discussing the possibilities of CERN creating a black hole and containing it, keeping it consistent. What are your thoughts, everybody? So, not certain on the black hole. They did determine the Higgs field. That is true. So, it is theoretically possible. So, but I could have sworn I did read something that, and I think it was the mini black hole that lasted for a fraction of a second. So, the fact that they can do it, even for a small fraction of a second,
Just
it kind of
shows the kind of progress that we've made as human beings, right? They say,
shows the
"Oh,
ingenuity.
we didn't go to the moon," but then we're talking about black holes. So
A conscious field. The consciousness is the foundation, not energy or matter. I agree.
like the
And
like the I'm
your
sorry,
soul. Everybody
I
has
was
conscious.
an inversion of the electromagnetic field test, right?
Hmm.
Is that
Speaking of that,
maybe
that's the reason why. That's one reason why you pray or meditate or you try to seek clarity of mind, mindfulness, mind, body, and soul. I mean, you're opening up into that consciousness field, that energy field. Jesus. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So I'm going to do a book too. The Tao. Honestly, I mean, Eastern philosophy, Eastern spirituality is, I mean, it's very interesting. I think it should be. I think the concept within the East should be joined with the religions of the West because I think there's a truth in all. I think we're seeking truth here, and in order to do that, I mean, well, Jesus said he's the truth, the way, and the life. Well, what if the way towards the truth was to unify the ideas that have been established from the East to the West, interlink it, heart to heart.
yeah, I can see that.
Also, just so you know, it was Thomas, the disciple Thomas, that doubting Tom, who actually made it to India. He was the only disciple to make it in his missionary work to India. He's also the only disciple that we don't necessarily, I mean, we don't necessarily really truly know how many of them died, but we can't articulate a reasoning behind how he died. He got murdered by locals. That's it. Which, as far as I'm concerned, murdered by locals could just mean he died happily and peacefully in his bed one night of old age, murdered by the locality of old age,
Potentially.
But it is interesting. He is one out of the 11. He was the one that would venture even further beyond the reaches of what we deem the Near East and Europe.
Yeah.
But I mean, then again, I mean, Peter made it to Rome, and so did Paul, and Paul, the 12th disciple that didn't follow.
That's a long way to travel. I mean,
What?
people used to run from city state to city state, and they wouldn't be able to live past that to deliver a single message. Go all the way to India from Egypt. That's quite the travel.
Egypt.
Well,
I think the term was.
Israel, Egypt. They're all in the same general area. That's what I meant.
Man, I think the term was Palestina. Oh no, there really is a Palestine on the map, said the Romans and the British. Philistia, Judea,
You'll
a
forgive me.
region of Palestine.
Zach's more religiously in line with things than I am, so I screw these things up all the time.
Samaria, not Sumeria, Samaria.
Yeah, that's some area.
Galilee.
That's right. Tripoli. I don't know. I just
Tripoli.
along for the ride.
Tripoli. Yeah, Tripoli.
Yeah.
On the shores of Tripoli. I don't even know how that song goes. Isn't that the
Right.
U.S. Marine hymn?
I don't know.
Something like that, because Jefferson was the first president to actually send in an expeditionary force for an undeclared war overseas.
Yeah.
To fight in Muslim lands. Oh, the
Instead of
irony.
just bribing them like everybody else.
At the end of it all, we spent more on that expeditionary force to fight an undeclared skirmish war than it would have
Jefferson.
just a bribe.
He ruined Jeffersonianism.
To be fair, I kind of don't blame him, but at the same time, I do.
He should have just withheld 90% of his income and lived off 10%.
Yeah, no. To be fair,
that's what a real conservative does.
Yeah, to be fair, what he should have done was he really didn't like the Constitution, but he used it and moderated it. But what he should have done was he should have just got rid of it dictatorially through executive order. I mean, it was illegal anyways. According to its own laws and the Articles of Confederation, it was passed illegally, so why not?
Man's got to do what man's got to do. Maybe he was making the room for an abolitionist to come through. Clean up his act.
Yeah, probably. So, but we digress. Although, it'll be simple. I mean, Jefferson, in his own way, shape, or form, his philosophies, he was very enmeshed in Christian rhetoric. Some would say he was a deist, but some could actually call him a Christian deist.
Got a copy of his Bible right here. I collect a lot of books. You have to forgive me.
Interesting Bible. Interesting. It's an interesting Bible. It's missing a lot too, though.
Well, I mean, he cut it out himself. He edited it. So,
what do they call that Bible?
The Jeffersonian Bible. I mean, I don't know what other title you give it.
I'm just kidding. Isn't there another Bible that did the same thing now? That's a study Bible. Oh, the Schofield Bible.
Okay, I guess
What's the difference?
I don't know. I wasn't aware of that Bible before you just said it, so.
Get out of here. I'm just kidding. But yeah, anything more to add there, Andrew? We've gone on a tangent at this point.
Yeah, I think this has been a good book. I'm definitely going to pass it on to people in my family so they can check it out.
Well, I'm going to leave you with why the one truly tells more of a story of Jesus than a two, even though Jesus was more of a two. Comes to the fulfillment factor, fulfillment of Scripture, right? As well as a reconciliation and atonement idea. Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. I do not condemn you. Go now and do not sin again. Hold patience in your heart, everybody. Patience is a virtue.
It is.
And if we aren't patient within ourselves, as well as with other people, but especially within ourselves, you are not going to be a very happy camper, because this world that we live in is not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It was never meant to be perfect, because perfection is up above and all around. Perfection is not of this world. So, as I place my fingers up and I look up to the heavens, I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. I'm Zachary Kaiser. That's Andrew Joseph. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this content, make sure you follow us anywhere and everywhere that you like your podcast. Make sure you get this out to your families and your friends. Whisper of the crowd, everybody. Let's teach, let's spread the message of the good news. Because salvation is only won through Christ, or whomever you believe. Salvation is there through the good energy of your heart. And so, I leave you once again. I want you to live long and prosper. You all have a very wonderful weekend.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Enjoy.
See you later.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Den.social, and I'd like to welcome you to WCW Nitro.
You know, brother, you think you know what it takes to beat Hollywood Hogan once you climb in the ring and try out the largest arms in the world. Hollywood style.
You want to wrestle an inch more Ric Flair, you gotta be able to walk that out and style and profile. Woo!
You really think you're ready for the
You really think you're ready for the Scorpion Deathlock? You think you're ready for a fatal encounter?
This is why they call me the total package. Do you have a pain threshold to withstand the butcher rack? Let's find out.
Hallo, hier ist Alex Wright. Wenn ihr High-Flying Wrestling Action wollt, Spinning Sidekick, mit Top Turnbuckle Dropkick, dann nehmt mich. Der Sieg ist euch sicher. Versprecht euch.
Oh yeah! Watch the flying elbow drop off the top rope. Not only beat people 1, 2, 3, but I hurt him real bad.
It only takes one of 1,000 holds. You think you're man enough for the challenge?
You better be ready to wrestle, because you know, when you get in the ring with Eddie Guerrero, it's going to be high-flying and exciting.
Hey, anytime you feel foggy, man, I'll slap on the buzz killer and rip your shoulder right out of socket. Wolfpack style! Hey, funky boy. Like there's a choice here? Good God! Pick the man with the plan. Pick DDP.
Hey, all you suckers out there, you wanna play the game? You wanna play with the big boy? Put your feet on the button, cause when you go down 110th Street, it's gonna be on like neck bone, sucker.
This is Booker T from Harlem Heat, hardcore OG brother from 110th Street. If any of you punks got the guts to step up to the plate, push the plate.
Yo, Chico, you selected Scott Hall? Get ready for a wild ride on the outside.
Hey there! How'd you like to get power pop?
Come on. Take me. I'm begging you, take me. Please take me.
You think you got the courage to step in the ring? I think you're gonna wind up with a snap neck with a choke slam.
Technical wrestler, high flyer, brawler. It don't matter what you consider yourself to be. When you're in the ring with the crippler, you're a loser.